on the ground right here, we keep hearing reports that a ground invasion into South Lebanon by special forces of the IDF to finish the job in this area and basically to move the Hezbollah forces north from the Israeli communities and enable a security zone that will protect the residents of Israel is on its way.
Welcome to Stakelbeck Tonight. I'm Erick Stakelbeck, and about a year ago, Hezbollah and Hamas signed their own death warrants, and they had no idea they were doing it because evil is arrogant. On October 7, 2023, Hamas invaded southern Israel and massacred 1,200 people. One day later, Hezbollah began firing rockets at northern Israel, forcing tens of thousands of Israelis to evacuate their homes. These two Iran-backed terror groups felt that they had all the momentum. Finally, the hated Zionist entity was on the ropes. And then it wasn't. Over the past year, Israel has systematically destroyed Hamas in Gaza, eliminating practically every top Hamas leader and 23 of the 24 Hamas military battalions. In other words, Hamas is now in its death throes, and it seems Hezbollah is about to follow its Hamas brothers into the ash heap of history. Over the past 2 weeks, Israel has absolutely smashed what had been the world's most powerful terrorist organization. Israel has killed or wounded thousands of Hezbollah jihadis, taken out thousands of Hezbollah rockets, missiles, and launchers, and eliminated Hezbollah's top leadership in stunning fashion. It all culminated on September 27th when massive Israeli airstrikes destroyed Hezbollah's Beirut headquarters and killed Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the group's top overall leader. Folks, Hezbollah is now in complete disarray. Israel is preparing a ground invasion of Lebanon and reportedly has already conducted raids into southern Lebanon, even entering Hezbollah tunnels. Now, I entered one of those tunnels a little while back with the IDF, and I can tell you it wasn't very pleasant. But Israel right now has an historic opportunity to destroy Hezbollah. Think about this. Iran created Hezbollah in 1982 and built it up for 42 years into a monster, only to see it all unravel in under 2 weeks. That's biblical justice, which makes sense because when these evil forces fight against Israel, they're fighting against the God of Israel. Yet evil is not only arrogant, it's just plain stupid. Take the Houthis, another Iranian proxy based in Yemen. They fired a series of ballistic missiles at Israel recently and apparently did not expect a response. Bad move. Israel carried out massive airstrikes on Sunday against Houthi military targets in Yemen. And in case you thought Iran would get the memo and change its ways, well, the Iranian parliament today erupted in chants of death to Israel. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's deputy leader vowed to fight on against the Zionists. Take a look.
Hezbollah مستمر بأهدافه وميدان جهاده وستتابع منظومة القيادة والسيطرة والمجاهدين ما كنت تتابعه أيها الأمين بالدقة نفسها وبالخطوات التي رسمتها.
Folks, we are witnessing history unfold in the Middle East right now. For the first time in a long time, evil is on the run. I believe these events have prophetic implications, and we'll break it all down with two top Israeli experts, Yair Pinto and Hananya Naftali, next. Are we witnessing Iran's entire ring of fire that surrounds Israel collapse before our very eyes? And does Israel have a unique opportunity here to change the face of the Middle East? Folks, these are historic times, Bible times, and we're joined now by an all-star Israel panel to unpack all of these fast-moving events. Joining us here in studio is journalist, commentator and activist Hananya Naftali. He works with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's digital team and is a foremost advocate for Israel on the world stage with over 2 million followers across social media. And joining us from Jerusalem is TBN Israel correspondent Yair Pinto. You can catch Yair's great reports on YouTube at TBN Israel. Gentlemen, welcome. Hananya, great to have you here in studio. You're in Jerusalem, I'm here, now we're together. This is great. And for such a time as this, I believe, because Hananya, I think we may be seeing that Iranian ring of fire unravel. How badly has Israel put a dent in Iran's strategy for the region over the past 2 weeks in particular?
Well, I have to say it's just incredible to see and to witness how the story develops. You know, Hezbollah, the terror group in Lebanon, was known to be the jewel in this Islamic resistance against Israel that wants to destroy Israel. So we saw this tweet that Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, that tweeted, "Hezbollah is the victor." Only a few days later, the head of Hezbollah was taken out. So it took Israel only just a few days to take out the entire leadership of Hezbollah, the leadership that they had built in the last 20 years. So I think that it's just amazing what we are witnessing, that the Islamic resistance that is trying to destroy Israel, they're actually ending up seeing their own destruction.
Yeah, very biblical. I mean, and historic. And Hananya, you make a great point. Khamenei tweets out those threats, and then we learn a few hours later, well, Ayatollah Khamenei has now been moved to an undisclosed location. Such bravery. Yair, in Jerusalem, hey, you've been on that Israel-Lebanon border frequently over the past few months. We've had you here on the ground with frequent reports here on Stakelbeck Tonight. What is the state of play right now? Hezbollah seems to be in complete disarray. Yair, how much of a response can they even muster at this point with, as Hananya said, several top literally their entire leadership wiped out?
Well, Eric, I think that Israel made a very strategic move by taking out all the leadership of Hezbollah and taking out all their ability to communicate between each other. So the threats of Hezbollah was that they will launch 3,000 rockets, missiles, and drones at Israel every day if Iran gives them the go-ahead to do so. And what we see that they are capable is less than 100, and this is after we took out their leader, Hassan Nasrallah. So this organization is severely crippled. And this is the time, and on the ground right here, we keep hearing reports that a ground invasion into South Lebanon by special forces of the IDF to finish the job in this area and basically to move the Hezbollah forces north from the Israeli communities and enable a security zone that will protect the residents of Israel is on its way. And the IDF is ready, and whenever the order will be given, it will start this invasion or ground invasion of operations to dismantle Hezbollah terrorists and infrastructure in the southern Lebanon at any time, any hour now. So it might happen even tonight.
Yeah, and again, guys, we're witnessing this in real time. I want the average American to know who's watching the show. You are witnessing history right now in the world's most volatile and strategic region, the Middle East. It's all unfolding. Hananya, how important is it for those tens of thousands of residents of northern Israel to return to their homes, not only from a security standpoint, but for the morale of the nation of Israel to bring the evacuees home, not to mention the hostages in Gaza?
Well, that's a brilliant question. I'm actually a resident of the north. My parents are based right now in the Galilee, and it's something that they have had to run to the bomb shelter several times. A lot of the residents in northern Israel, they said, we are not coming back home to our homes until Hezbollah is dismantled. Yeah. And we're sitting right now in Dallas. I just want to ask our American audience, if one rocket was to be fired on Dallas, and what would the reaction be? America wouldn't stand for that. America also wouldn't stand for the free world telling America, hey, let's solve it diplomatically. So that's exactly what Israel is doing. Fighting for the sake of freedom, democracy, liberty. Hezbollah, by the way, is a terror organization that is responsible for the murder, the deaths of hundreds of American troops. So Israel is actually doing a favor to the world by dismantling this radical Shia organization that wants not just the destruction of Israel, but also the destruction of America, the free world. This is a war between good and evil. And Israel is fighting against the forces of darkness with the light. And we know how the story is going to end. Israel is winning big time. And the terrorists, as Yair said, are being crippled.
Yair, I want to go to you, but first, I want to take a look at this very important speech, or I should say direct address, that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made today to the Iranian people. Take a listen.
There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. The vast majority of Iranians know their regime doesn't care a whit about them. If it did care, if it cared about you, it would stop wasting billions of dollars on futile wars across the Middle East. It would start improving your lives.
Yair, pretty powerful words from Prime Minister Netanyahu. Again, a direct appeal to the Iranian people. They are the main victims, really, of this regime. Do you see a unique opportunity here for the Iranian regime? Hey, they seem to be back on their heels, but eventually could we see the demise of that wicked regime in Tehran?
Well, yes, Eric, I think that what we see from Netanyahu appealing to the Iranian people is the same as we see with the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The civilians of Gaza are being held hostage and used as human shields by Hamas. We see the same thing with Hezbollah. This terrorist organization in Hezbollah is using the Lebanese people as human shields. They're firing rockets and missiles from residential buildings, storing ballistic missiles in houses of people. And the Iranian people are the same. This regime is basically draining all the economy, all the money, all the future that these people have and want to hope for in order to fund these terror organizations all across the region with the sole purpose of destroying Israel. So definitely, Eric, I think that the hope for Iran and the Iranian people is that if the people will stand up from within and take down this Iranian regime. This is the hope and this is the prayer, Eric.
Great point, Yair. And speaking of hope, Hananya Naftali, the New Hope Party of Gideon Sa'ar just joined Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition. They now have 68 seats in the Israeli Knesset. Not to get too in the weeds, folks, with Israeli politics, but Hananya, this seems to be a pretty important move in terms of strengthening the Prime Minister's position and giving him more of a mandate to do what needs to be done when it comes to Hezbollah, Hamas, and all the rest.
Exactly. The Prime Minister sent out a message recently saying that we want unity. And, you know, the Prime Minister has been leading for a long time this policy, peace through strength. And because in a neighborhood such as in the Middle East, you have to make peace through strength. And the more partners that we have, the more partners that the government of Israel has, the better. Because we understand, I thought that the message sent by the Prime Minister was a powerful one to the Iranian people, saying, we don't view you as our enemy. And the Iranian people understand that their leaders are stuck in the past. When your leaders are stuck in the past, they cannot build a future. And we need leaders that have a vision, leaders that view peace as a priority, but also without making any concessions that will endanger the future of Israel. So I think that this is a welcome move, of course.
Hey, speaking of concessions, much of the Western world is pressuring Israel just when it has Hezbollah. It's ready to deliver the death blow to one of its worst adversaries. The Western world seems to be imploring Israel to agree to a ceasefire. Benjamin Netanyahu thankfully has ignored those pleas. Do you see Bibi, especially after the events of last week, taking out Nasrallah very boldly? Do you see him, Hananya, as emerging in many ways as the leader of the free world?
That's a very interesting point. He got a question recently. Somebody asked him, how are you taking these decisions? And he said that while we appreciate our allies and our friends, at the end of the day, we will do whatever is necessary to take care of ourselves. Yeah. And I think that this is just preposterous, that people are demanding ceasefire from Israel, whereas when 9/11 occurred, nobody said we understand both sides. We understand Al-Qaeda, we understand the Americans. When the Allied forces were fighting the Nazis, nobody said, well, hold up. Let's have a ceasefire. Let's talk about this. Yeah. I just want the viewers to imagine what the world would have looked like if the Allied forces would have made peace with the Nazis. I'll tell you one thing, I probably wouldn't be standing here sitting with you as a Jewish person from Israel.
Yair, you spent a bunch of time in late 2023, early 2024 in Gaza, in Khan Yunis, working for the IDF spokesperson's unit. What's the state of play right now? Hard to believe, nearly a year since October 7th. What is the state of play right now in Gaza, Yair? It seems that Hamas has just been completely decimated.
Yes, Eric, definitely. And you stated that the IDF destroyed 23 out of 24 Hamas battalions in the Gaza Strip. And at the moment, the IDF is focused on building its presence in the Netzer corridor, which is separating the northern part of the Gaza Strip from the southern part of the Gaza Strip, and providing the movement of Hamas terrorists from north to south and vice versa, and also basing its presence and destroying terror tunnels underneath the Philadelphia corridor, which is the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. This is where they received all the weapons, they smuggled ammunitions, people, and basically everything they need in order to conduct this war. And I think that the big story here is that the Israeli chief of staff made a speech, and in the background there was a picture of Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, with a red question mark, meaning that for a few days now, nobody knows if he's alive or dead. And that's the big question. Does Hamas have a leader or not?
Yeah. And by the way, it seems a bit festive in Jerusalem right now. We hear some background noise there, Yair. You even have a bit of a laser light show going on behind you. So is this a celebration, perhaps, over the demise of Hassan Nasrallah? Who knows? But Hananya, in all seriousness, major moves being made here. The intelligence that Israel has in Lebanon and Syria in particular, amazing. Operation Exploding Beeper about 2 weeks ago. Can you talk about the importance of Israel's just incredible and vast intelligence network in bringing down these terror organizations? They seem to have thoroughly infiltrated Hezbollah in particular.
Well, I have to say that whoever did this did the right move. Because at the end of the day, just like Yair stated, just like you stated, Eric, that we are dealing with, people need to understand this is an existential war. And you have to look at what's the meaning of Hezbollah. Hezbollah means the party of Allah. The Houthis in Yemen, officially known as Ansar Allah, it means supporters of Allah. Hamas is the acronym of, in Arabic, of the Islamic resistance movement. This is a religious war. And folks at home need to understand this. This is something that somebody from Gaza actually told me, that this is a war of religion. They call America the big Satan, Europe the little Satan, but mainly Israel the small Satan. The little Satan, the medium Satan, Europe, and America, the big Satan. They may start with Israel, but it's not going to end there. So at the end of the day, Israel, with all its technology, innovation, and military power, is fighting not to wage war, but actually to safeguard freedom. As there's this famous quote that I think David Ben-Gurion said, Israel's first prime minister, that Israel's greatest resource is its people. Because as you know, we are a small land, but a mighty nation.
The size of the state of New Jersey, of all places. And hey, I'm so excited. You're on a speaking tour here in the States, Hananya. You're coming to us from Israel, and you'll be reaching, thankfully, American audiences with this powerful message that you're bringing. I want to ask both of you this question. Hananya, do you see, and you've both been in the IDF, do you see Israel as the first line of defense for Western civilization? Hananya first, and Yair, I want to pose the same question to you.
By all means, and I hope that the Western world does understand it, that Israel is first in line of defense, because we have seen it throughout history that Israeli intelligence had helped to prevent and foil terror attacks on European soil. Yeah. I'm not sure whether on American soil, but Israel is fighting a war against evil. It says in the Bible, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Yeah. So I want to encourage people to know what evil is and to call this out. Because in the Bible, it talks so much about the tongue. So I want to encourage people to use their tongue. Speak out. We are in an era where darkness is rising its ugly head. Yes. We need to know where we stand, and Israel needs our friends today more than ever. So I want to turn this to the audience and say thank you so much for being friends of Israel in this dark era. We need our friends today more than ever.
Amen. Israel could use a few good friends right now. Of course, the God of Israel is the mightiest friend, but Yair, about 45 seconds before the break, you're in the trenches in Khan Yunis, at least you were earlier this year. Did you get the sense that you were fighting not only for Israel, but for the free world in a larger sense, for goodness?
Yes, Eric, it took me a while to understand why all these countries, Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, want to destroy Israel. And I'm there in the Gaza Strip, and it doesn't make any sense to me until I realized that this is a spiritual war. This is a spirit of the enemy, of deception, of hatred against Israel. We don't have oil, we don't have natural resources. All we have is a promise from God, promise for God, a covenant with the people of Israel. And the enemy wants to destroy that because Israel is a faith, a hope for all the Christians around the world. And if the enemy can destroy this connection between God and Israel, it destroys hope for everybody. And that's why all our Christian supporters around the world should unite in prayer for the peace of Jerusalem.
So true, and thankfully he is a promise-keeping God, and that covenant you mentioned, Yair, it's eternal. Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.